Depreciation benefits of the rentals we had, it was able to offset nearly all my income, and I actually had a loss to carry forward.
You're listening to Alternative Investor Mastermind, where we do a deep dive on alternative investment opportunities and the lifestyle it can create. Join Jack Krupey as he presents actionable tips and tricks in doing passive real estate away from mainstream strategies. Go beyond the usual fix and flips and try less explored yet rewarding investing ventures, from multifamily properties, mobile homes to cryptocurrencies. Do not miss this opportunity to escape traditional assets and finally create wealth without Wall Street. Now your host, Jack.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Alternative Investor Mastermind. Today we're going to talk a bit about depreciation. It's kind of a technical subject and can really impact your taxes. It's also very much misunderstood by many, and even really seasoned professionals. Often there's specifics and questions. So none of this is obviously tax advice. You really need to consult a CPA about your specific situation. But I am going to talk high level, and I'm going to go through some personal examples that have affected me. So for those that don't know my story, I got into real estate right after college during the dot-com crisis, and I was benefiting from depreciation and I knew it existed, but I didn't really dive into the details. I just generally didn't pay much of any tax for the first 8 years of my career. I bought a bunch of rental properties. We were flipping houses. We were wholesaling. I had a broker's license. I was getting some commissions from broker, but I was absolutely a real estate professional. And because of the depreciation benefits of the rentals we had, it was able to offset nearly all my income, and I actually had a loss to carry forward. So the real estate professional thing we've had a number of episodes on, but what I'm going to talk more about today is how depreciation is still a benefit for those that have W-2 income, and or those that are an active business owner where it's still considered their primary source of business, where typically depreciation is not going to offset your W-2 or your active income. So I've had a number of people say to me, well, if you have a W-2 job, depreciation doesn't really help you at all. It's true that you cannot offset your full active income with depreciation, but there's still a number of benefits, especially just accruing tax deferred income. If you have no other investments that are passive and you invest into a syndication, as an example, you're getting cash flow in your pocket every year from preferred returns or dividends, and you're not paying tax on that money that year in general because you're getting a paper loss via K1. So if you're already maxing out your 401k and you're a high income earner and you have other cash on the sidelines, investing in a syndication can be a great way to earn tax deferred income. Another option is if you own other rental properties. So even if you're an active W-2, but you say own 3 or 4 single family houses, and you're earning a profit on rents from those properties, using the depreciation there could offset that rental income again, so that you have cash in your pocket and your taxes are deferred. If you own property that's either went up significantly in value and the rents are surpassing the depreciation, you're actually paying some tax on your Schedule E, making a new investment into a syndication, especially one where it uses cost segregation and accelerated depreciation, you can make a new investment, and that investment could actually help offset the gains or the income on other passive investments you have. So passive losses offset passive income. The passive generally does not offset active income unless you qualify as a real estate professional or your spouse does. There's a number of other categories where the depreciation can offset. Again, it's not going to be your active W-2 income, but if you're receiving royalties, I covered rental property income. If you're a partner in another venture or LLC, something that's not your full time, so you invested in a friend's company, you own a minority interest in another company that's not your primary. There's a lot of other scenarios where depreciation will offset other potential income and gains. So what are the risks? There is a thing called recapture. So if you take this depreciation, eventually when the property sells, there is recapture. Now, my philosophy with my personal income is to defer as long as possible, and also just try to manage the tax burden when sales happen by reinvesting and taking new depreciation. So the risk and the fear is just getting caught with an unexpected tax bill, and certainly it's a valid risk, but what I would say is that once you get into the game of investing in real estate, investing in syndications, tax planning just becomes part of your overall strategy, and you should keep a spreadsheet of what you invested, what your K1 loss is, and track with the sponsors you're investing with, or if it's on your own portfolio. If you're planning to sell, you should track what your tax burden is, and you should also be on the lookout when you think something is going to sell, or you're notified by one of your partners that syndication is going to sell. You should immediately be planning on where can you reinvest the profits to get a new tax loss, so that income or gain can be offset. Now, the recapture is either at 25% for traditional depreciation or at ordinary income for the bonus depreciation. So the other significant benefit is if you're at a stage in your life and career that you feel you may be either moving out of a high state income tax state and moving to a state with no income tax, or you're closer to retirement, you feel like your income may decline in incoming years, it's very efficient to take and defer as many losses as possible now. And if and when there's recapture in the future, if you're going to be retired in 5 or 7 years, sure, you could take the recapture then, but your income may be a fraction of what it is now, so you're going to be paying a much lower tax rate. You may be paying 12% instead of 50% if, for example, you're moving from California or New York to Florida or Nevada, and you're retiring from a high 6-figure job, and your income is much lower now. So there's a lot of benefits. Depreciation in syndications can be much more efficient than earning income through dividends through real estate investment trusts. If you're a hiring professional and you own REITs, you're probably not the most efficient for taxes. REITs don't pay income tax at the REIT level, and they're required to pass through 90% of their income to investors. But since they're not taxed at the entity level, these are not qualified dividends. So if you're in the highest tax bracket, you're paying 29.6% annually on the REIT dividend income, and that is not efficient. If you invested in a private fund or syndication that provides a K1 loss, you could earn the same or higher cash distributions, but have zero taxes, or your taxes will be deferred instead of having to pay that tax every year. If you compound that over 5 to 7 years, your returns can be significantly higher through investing in private syndications or private real estate funds that issue a K1 loss. I mentioned earlier in the episode that when I got started in my career, I really didn't fully understand it, but I just wasn't paying any taxes. One of the things that drove me to really deep dive into, investing, taxes, etc., is that I personally ran into a situation where I took a role, ended up founding a company in New York that was in the distressed mortgage industry, and we ended up partnering with a large private equity fund. And the way we ended up setting it up was I ended up taking a large W-2 with bonus as a managing director, and I also owned a piece of the business. And after years of not really, taxes weren't a big concern for me because it was just by default as a real estate investor, I was very tax efficient, even though I didn't really fully understand it. All of a sudden, in addition to essentially having half my paycheck taken as taxes, I had to pay a 6-figure tax bill in New York City. And it was really eye-opening, and the tax code is really written by high net worth business owners and investors, and it's really the least advantageous for W-2 earners. So, I was in a spot where I was losing half of my income to taxes, and unfortunately, as someone who was an entrepreneur for a lot of my life, I wasn't very happy or fulfilled in a role that became a little more corporate and a little more operational. So as I was figuring out what to do, and this could be applicable to a lot of business owners that may be thinking about sale, retirement, or just taking a step back and working a little less. When I actually left as an employee, instead of losing 50% of my income as an active participant in the business, it then became passive because I wasn't on payroll, I wasn't putting in any hours. And even without becoming a real estate professional at that stage, it became passive income. And the investments that I had previously made that were not able to offset my W-2 income, now I'd had this loss that was already accumulated, and now that passive loss was able to offset passive gains or passive income that was coming from the business I owned a piece of. So again, this can be a lot more complicated, but if you're a business owner and you're thinking of retiring, thinking of hiring maybe hiring a CEO and stepping back from day to day, if you already own a substantial rental portfolio, there could be situations where leaving the company as an employee could actually unlock tax efficiencies where you may actually make more money. This also, could work if you're contemplating selling some or all of the business, bringing on a new partner. And I don't know exactly what the limitations are if you have to own less than 50%, or is this something you really need to talk over with a CPA? But the moral of this story is, if you're in a situation where you're looking to maybe step back, sell a business, leave a business, hire a new CEO, there could be some major tax efficiencies if structured the right way. So what are the other risks? Had some questions about, well, what happens if you get audited? Depreciation has been in the tax code for a long time. It's generally been a bipartisan issue as well. I said there's rich Democrats own real estate, rich Republicans own real estate. So although it's been in the headlines in recent years that they may do things like try to eliminate the 1031 exchange, at least it largely seems to be posturing, and at least the last number of years I've been following it, it hasn't really made it into the tax code. With that said, the accelerated depreciation, bonus depreciation that's been around since 2017 is starting to sunset. This year in 2023, bonus depreciation is dropping to 80% instead of 100%. And next year it's going to go to 60%. So we'll see what happens over time. Regardless, even if the bonus depreciation drops all the way down, just using a cost segregation and doing accelerated depreciation is still usually very efficient and will yield a higher loss than if you just do that straight line 27 and a half years depreciation. We are getting a little technical here, but there's other episodes that have have specifics, and feel free to reach out. If you reach out to someone on our team, we can point you in the right direction to some other resources that do a deep dive into how depreciation works. So that's about it for this episode. I thank everyone for listening. Please subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice, and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We do have a Facebook group now for the Alternative Investor Mastermind, so encourage everyone to apply and join the group. We'll be putting some custom content up there as well, and going to start doing some lives, some Facebook lives. So want to engage with our audience. Please reach out if you have any questions you'd like us to cover on future shows.
That's all for this episode of Alternative Investor Mastermind. Now that you know the many alternative opportunities out there all up for the taking, you can finally become ultra connected and ultra wealthy. Get more valuable advice from the experts by subscribing to the show at alternativeinvestormastermind.com. Become a winner in the world of passive investing today in alternative investment strategies. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.